story called, there we go. That's right. That's what we do. So, that's what we do for you all today. And this one is called Breathe. All right?
Oh my God. He's not breathing. Somebody call 911. Somebody call 911, please, man, breathe. Come on, okay, wait, I can't panic. Okay, I started some CPR, head tilt, chin lift, 10 compressions and 3 breaths. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. He's not breathing. Come on, somebody call 911, please. Somebody, please, he's not breathing. Come on, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. They're not breathing. There they are. Another boy, another girl, another kid, another young man, another young lady, suffocating on this thing that we call life. So much trauma and so many realities are coming to them that they don't know how to interpret, that they can't even swallow or make smaller, so they suffocate. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. There they are, beating on their chest, reaching out for somebody to help them, reaching out as their eyes are rolling to the back of their heads and their mouths are foaming. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. They're not breathing. Beloved, we have this wrong. Beloved, we're struggling with this thing. They're not stupid, they're not breathing. This is not a dumb young man, he's suffocating. This is not a loose young lady, she is suffocating. Because no one is breathing into her. Because no one has breathed into him to tell him who and what he really is. He's suffocating in his mind. He doesn't even think that he's smart enough to go to school and even go to college because his mom and his dad keep calling him stupid. She's suffocating in her heart. She doesn't even know who she is. She doesn't know that she's beautiful. She doesn't know that she's a princess or that she's a queen. She's suffocating emotionally, but beloved, no matter who you are, wherever you are, if you would just accept this head tilt, chin lift, these 10 compressions and these 3 breaths, I would tell you that you're beautiful. Beloved, no matter who you are, if you would accept these 10 compressions and these 3 breaths, I would tell you that you are a king. I would tell you that there is nothing that you cannot do. I would tell you that I see your tears at nighttime that you can't even tell your mom or your dad about. I would tell you that I see your heart breaking even though you smile when you're out with your friends. I would tell you that you're confused and that you feel awkward, but I would tell you that you're beautiful. I know it's hard, but don't stop breathing. I know you want to give up, but you can't stop breathing. I know that you feel lost in this thing that we call life, but you can't stop breathing. I know that you don't feel smart enough. I know that you don't feel pretty enough, but you can't stop breathing. So no matter who you are, no matter where you've come from, no matter what they said about you, no matter what you say about yourself, no matter how you don't like yourself, when you see yourself in the mirror, I would tell you to keep on breathing. Thank you.
So I'm not near as excited as that. Not even remotely close.
Just as important.
I'm just a business guy.
I mean,
Right, so you guys have probably seen McLaren out there. You know, my name is Reco. Obviously, I'm the owner of it. But how did I get it? You know, that's what everyone wants to ask. You know, how did you get it? How much money do you make? How much does it cost? How much do your other cars cost? I'm gonna make sure you guys can leave today and go make a ton of money within the next week. Yeah, you looking like you're questioning, you're like, nah, that ain't true. Promise. So 2 things that I learned along the way of, making X amount of dollars. If you're really, really good at something, somebody will pay you for it. And once they pay you for it, you can figure out how to scale that money. So when I first started, I'm big into drop shipping. I have a barber shop, I have a car shop, I have a media agency. I do a bunch of stuff. When I first started, I was desperate. I had nobody to kind of coach me through it. I was broke. I had no problem. I was broke. I had no money. I was trying to figure out how to take care of my kids at the time. I'm like, this ain't gonna work. But luckily, I was really good at a handful of things. One of them, selling stuff on the internet. That's where I make the majority of my money. And two, cars. So at the time, I was tuning a bunch of cars. I was taking that money. I was tuning Hondas back in the day. This is back on the Honda and Chrome days. So I'm dating myself. You guys know what those platforms are. And I took that money and I started buying more inventory for my eBay and Shopify stores. And then, over time, I transitioned to Amazon. But during that process, I realized that, hey, in order for me to scale, I'm going to need employees. I'm going to need people to help me because there's only 24 hours in a day, and I'm one person, and I still have a job. All right, so I started hiring employees. Then when I realized that I needed more time, and at the time I was in the Air Force, I was in the military, so I didn't have enough time. I was deploying, I was doing TDY, I was doing all these different things, and it just wasn't working. I'm like, I got 24 hours, what do I do? All right, I leave. I get out the military, I come home, I go to college. Because everybody knows, you gotta go to college, get this piece of paper to go make a ton of money. And depending on that job field, you may or may not need one. So I became a software engineer. I worked at Lockheed Martin, I worked at Vanguard, Accolade, a few other companies, and I took that money and kept dumping it back into my businesses. So now I have more time because I have more employees and they're doing all the work for me. And I'm working a pretty cake 9 to 5. Like being a software engineer, you kind of come and go as you please. You don't really have to clock in. You can show up at 10, 11 o'clock and then leave at 7, 8 o'clock if you choose, or show up at 6 in the morning, leave at 3. It doesn't really matter. So once the businesses I had started to scale by hiring more employees, putting managers in place and doing all that, I was able to leave. So imagine you're making $100-something thousand a year. It's a pretty good life. But I was making so much more than that. I'm like, why am I even here? My boss called me to the office. At the time, I had a yellow Ford. I had a 488 before it burned to the ground. And he's like, you're the only person here with a Ferrari. What do you want to do with your life? I'm like, I don't know. I'm going to go get my MBA. I'm going to train the next generation of software engineers like you do, and everyone's going to be happy. Make some more money. He's like, what do you really want to do with your life? I'm like, I don't know, man. I just told you what I want to do with my life. He's like, why don't you give it 6 months and see what you can pull off? Because I was still working my day job. And I was, trying to handle my businesses and do all these crazy things. And it was working, but just wasn't working at the scale that I needed it to. Remember, scaling your money. So I leave work. I'm like, you know what, fine, you're right, TJ, I'm gonna bounce. So I bounced out. Once I did that, I got to sit back and go over the 2 principles that we talked about. Figure out what I was really, really good at and how to scale it. So over the course of that time, more money's coming in because the businesses I'd already set up that I was really good at, cars, drop shipping, they started to rise. Started a media agency. Because at this point I was on YouTube, Instagram, all that. So we had photographers, videographers, we had the whole production team to help me do the stuff that I do. Now, what happens? The rise of a particular platform, OnlyFans, right? What do we know that for? For doing stuff that you're not supposed to be doing if you're morally correct, I guess. Which isn't always the case because you're selling content. Well, people started coming to me and like, hey, you're hanging around all these celebrities that are doing this, we need help. I'm like, all right, well, I know the process. I have a whole content team, I have photographers, videographers, all this stuff. Let's clean up your image. Let's, get you to be more brand approachable and see what we can do. So started with that. We got a couple people on and did it from there. Now we got dozens of models and we just had a photo shoot, over the weekend and all this other stuff. Over that course, I figured out I was good at it. So now we got this business phone. Mike has a barbershop. Him from Mr. Philly Pays himself. I buy into a barbershop franchise that's on South Street. I'm like, I don't know anything about barbering whatsoever. Absolutely nothing. I don't know how to cut hair. I don't know who makes clippers. I barely know what barbershop is. But I know business. And I know that if you're really, really good at something, you can charge people for it and you can scale it. Doesn't matter what business it is, you can make it work. So what do? I put people in place managers, top barbers, you have cleaning staff, everything to make sure that the barbershop runs smoothly so I don't have to be there. Then I can think of other methods to help grow that business. Marketing teams, sales teams, whatever. Even if I have to do it myself, I can still knock it out because I'm not there every day. I have cameras to kind of oversee. It's kind of like Big Brother. I get to oversee everything. If I notice something's out of whack or if someone comes to me and tells me something, I can solve that problem. As a business owner, that's essentially what you are. You are just a problem solver. A lot of people create businesses thinking that you're just going to get in there and make a ton of money and have no problems and that's it. That's not the way it works. When you leave your job to take on a bigger role, you essentially give yourself another job. You become self-employed. But you're never going to be able to scale that money and grow your businesses doing that. Never, 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 never. It's almost impossible because there's just not enough time in a day. And that was my problem when I first started. I didn't have enough hours in a day. I was consistently grinding, but I wasn't getting anywhere because I didn't have anything in place. I had to hire more people. And a lot of people don't want to give up that control. So if you ever want to get to the level where you're driving cars like that, or making $1 million, or $2 million, or $3 million, or whatever, you have to give up control and you have to put people in place that can help you do all the things that you would normally do. Like, case in point, what are you good at? Playing video games, right? Okay. Yeah, to scale that. So, a good example would be my friend Super Mario Logan. A big YouTuber, he has all these puppets and stuff like that. So, what you would do, you would essentially start streaming. Right? You start a Twitch channel, or whatever. What other platforms are there outside of OnlyFans? Twitch, there's, Mixer, through Microsoft, things like that. So you start, your brand on there, and you start growing. You have your Instagram, you have your Facebook, you have your streaming platform, and then you can start creating content that you can sell. Because people are going to want to see speed runs, they're going to want to see, beat things on the hardest difficulties and all this other stuff. So once you start doing that, now you have to figure out how to get that to other people's eyes. Because sometimes those platforms aren't going to help you, right? So how do you do that? You have people like Mike, people like me, other people that know you to kind of help build that influence. And then you can use your likeness to start selling things. Like maybe you want to sell t-shirts or apparel, or in the case of like Logan, he sells puppets. Logan makes almost $250,000 a month just off puppets. Not his YouTube revenue, nothing. Just off puppets. And he don't even make it. He has someone else make all that stuff for him, and then they just use his likeness essentially to sell that brand. It's really easy. Figure out what you're good at, and then figure out how to scale that money. Anyone can do it. Anyone can get rich. Like I 100% believe anybody can get rich. All you have to do is figure out what you're good at, figure out how you can help people, or help people get what they want. Because people want to be entertained. So in the case of you playing games, people just want to be entertained. I don't play video games like that, but my kids do. And they watch people play video games. Instead of them playing games, they just watch people play games. Blows my mind. But if you can figure that out, what games these kids want to see, you can grow from there. But you have to be willing to sacrifice and give something up. Because you don't get to make $1 million and not give something up. I don't sleep very much. Like almost none at all. I sleep maybe 4 or 5 hours a night at most. But that's just because I have all these other things going on. And that's something that you guys are going to have to determine for yourself. Because getting rich is really easy. Those two things are really easy. But most people aren't going to be able to get to that. Because you have to get something up. So you're not going to be hanging out with your friends. You're probably not going to see them very much. You might not even get haircuts. Because you're going to have to decide what you want to do. And is it worth it? For me, it was worth it. My kids don't have to worry about college. I don't have to worry about where I'm going to get money for my bills. I don't have to worry about anything. But in exchange, I gave up a ton of time. I have the freedom to do anything and very little time to do that anything. You got to think about it. You can have something that's more passive. You can invest, do crypto, forex, things like that. But you still have to build a skill set. It takes time. And not everybody wants to spend that amount of time. So it's really, is it worth it to you? I mean, it was, like I said, it's worth it to me. It's worth it to Mike. Is making $1 million, making $10 million, is it worth it? Driving all the fast cars in the world, hanging out with celebrities and supermodels and all this stuff, is it really worth it? Maybe. But you guys have to determine it. But I can tell you two things. You go out there, figure out what you're good at, and you scale it. You get rich. Pretty fast too. I made my first $1 million on my couch with no marketing team, no help whatsoever. I did it at my house with a full-time job, kids, everything, baby moms, whole nine. Anybody can do it. I want to 100% believe that you guys can. So that'll be your assignment. If you guys want to make a ton of money, figure out what you're good at, go home today. Yeah, go ahead.
How long did it take you to make your first million? I'm just curious.
If we count from the point where I figured out the whole process, maybe a year and a half, like 2 years at most, something like that. Yeah, it's really not that hard, man. But you just have to be willing to sacrifice. I didn't sleep at all, really. Like I was making myself sick. Like if I could go back and do it all over again, I probably wouldn't have did that route. I would have, been more gradual with it. It's stressful. Yeah. It is really stressful. And a lot of things come with that. That you start having a bunch of unforeseen problems. When you start making a lot of money, because a lot of people don't necessarily like to see you make a lot of money. So you build a lot of enemies, you build people that they may not necessarily hate you, but they're upset because it's not coming from a place of like hatred. It's just it's envy. Like a lot of my friends fell off the map, and I had to get new friends. Like if you guys see my social media, like I'm friends with pretty much nothing but celebrities. I hang out with like Antonio Brown and Adam Weitzman and Tyron and the Paul brothers and everything else, just because everyone has, so no one has to hate on each other. We don't hit on each other. Like I got the cheapest watch out of all my friends. Everyone got Richard Milles, and I'm over here too cheap to buy one. And that's what you want. You want to get in the right circles and have people that will kind of coach you and mentor you and help you with your money. Because when you have people that are trying to come up and they see you on the rise, they're going to keep trying to pull you down, and you're going to spend a lot of money helping those people. Like the first $1,000 I ever made, I don't even know what I did with it. My first 10K month, like I know I bought a drone, and then I bought stuff for everybody else, and then everyone else was eating off. I was paying everybody's bills. I was paying for their rent. I was paying their car payments. I was paying for their cell phones. I was paying for all types of stuff, and I don't really hang out with any of those people anymore. Hundreds of thousands of dollars. Like I do a $100,000 party. A $100,000 party for all these people. And that's just not a really good way to spend your money. If you're gonna spend money, you want to invest that money in either infrastructure or you want to invest it in some type of passive means. Because all my assets pay for my car. Like that was paid off, my RA's paid off. My track was really the only thing that I have a car payment was because the money was almost free. I got it like a 1% interest rate. So I'm like, why not? But that's how it works. Just how bad do you want it? If you're looking to make money, then go home today, figure out what you're good at. Follow me on social media, and then see what I do and mimic it. I promise you, you'll make money doing it. And then you just figure out how to scale it. And once you figure out how to scale it, it's almost uncontrollable. It's just a matter of time before you get rich. All my friends, same way. Everyone I know that makes millions or more, same thing. These people are no smarter than the next person. Like some of them are actually dumb, really dumb. Like if you talk to them, you're like, how did you make it out of school? There's no way that you could be making all this money. But they just figured out how to put things in place to help them make money. You never want to spend more than what you make. Don't count your chickens before they hatch, essentially. Like let's say you make $100,000, in 1 month. That's like lightweight. When you start really doing it, $100,000, that'll be light for you. You take all that money and you spend it. If you can't do that every month, it doesn't do you any good. So don't go out and buy this stuff. Like if you can't buy it twice, you don't need it. So don't go buy jewelry and all this stuff until you know that it's sustainable. You have a safety net to pay for your employees and things like that. Because I made that mistake. I was buying all types of crazy stuff. I bought a Ferrari. I had no business buying a Ferrari. I bought one and I couldn't buy it twice at a time. Like I was like hurt when I bought that. I had like $10,000 left in the bank on that car. And it took me almost 6 months to make that money back. $280,000. I had to make all that money back. So don't do it. If you guys have any questions, you can always hit me up. I'll be able to help you out, but we gotta, get to the competition and all that. So, I'll be here. You gotta make some money.